And it's not Mach 10, but it is foot down. Let me tell you about the time then that I found myself piloting a Mercedes CLK GTR, one of my absolute dream cars, at a legendary location at the Bahrain International Circuit, host to the Formula 1 Grand Prix taking place in Bahrain, chasing the likes of a Porsche 911 GT1, a Maserati MC12, and a McLaren F1 around the circuit in a parade that became a little bit more spirited than originally intended. Now, this was one of the absolute highlights of, I would say, my YouTube career to date. A moment that was incredibly spontaneous in the way it came together, involved a lot of arrangements in terms of flights, because I wasn't due to even be in Bahrain at the time, and had, well, I guess a bit of a backstory to actually get me there. So I had planned to go out to the Middle East, to visit Bahrain and the UAE, to be in Dubai and Abu Dhabi as well. So I planned my trip of about a week of length. I was going out first to Bahrain to go and attend the launch of the Lamborghini Huracan Evo. The Huracan Evo event was also held at the Bahrain International Circuit as well, so I got a familiarity of the track and the event and met lots of people, and a few friends introduced me to the owner of a private car collection. Now, I think it's, by many accounts, probably the greatest modern hypercar collection in the world at this time, the Collection 1 as it's known. And we're talking about the entire lineup of the Ferrari hypercars, the 288 GTO, F40, F50, Enzo LaFerrari. We're talking about the McLaren hypercars, the Senna, the P1, and an F1, the pinnacle of the collection. We're talking about some rarer and exclusive cars, the Lamborghini Reventon, the Maserati MC12. Basically, if you can name it, it was probably in that collection. A Koenigsegg, just everything. It's all there. So this is, for me, complete heaven. So I'm introduced to the owner, who is an absolutely lovely gentleman, invites me to come and have a look at the garage and create a video piece myself, showing some of the cars that are there. And to be honest, I'm in complete dreamland. It's my... I'm just standing there, my jaw hits the floor, I'm looking around at the cars that are present, and this is absolute heaven. So a day, again, a fantastic place to visit. But then I go about the other things that I'm doing in Bahrain, and I catch a flight over to Dubai. I've got a busy week ahead, lots of things going on, lots of places to visit. And I get an invitation to an event that's taking place back in Bahrain the day before I'm due to fly from Dubai back to London. And it's not so easy to move your flight from Dubai to Bahrain to get the flight back to London. So I'm thinking, right, do I book this flight from Dubai to Bahrain just to be there for a few hours and then get a flight back to Dubai to fly back to London? Which is, of course, if you're traveling with some luggage for a week or two, it's a bit of a round robin to try and make all of this work. And ironically, flying back to Bahrain is actually nearer to London than Dubai, so I've kind of made my life really difficult. But turns out it was worth it. So I get on this flight to Bahrain. I get off the plane. It's running a little bit late. I'm getting a bit stressed because I've heard this event this evening is going to be really cool. It's arranged by Supercars Club Arabia. There are going to be some amazing cars there, and also the Collection 1 is bringing some of his cars as well. It's basically an event put on for the launch of the new Apollo IE, the Intensa Emozioni, which I think is kind of the dream hypercar of this time, in the sense of just throwing out the rule book, making something that's ridiculous in the way it looks, the way it sounds, and what it is. It's crazy. So I'm excited about the event. Whatever's going to be happening is going to be a good time. I'm sure of that. But I get over there a little bit later than planned, walk into the pit garages, and in front of me, as well as the IE, you also have a lineup of the latest and greatest, the McLarens, the Ferraris, the Lamborghinis, and these four cars. The McLaren F1, the MC12, Porsche GT1, and the only Porsche GT1, 993 GT1, and the CLK GTR. Now, these are all, well, I've been lucky enough to drive the MC12 before, but the other three, all cars I've never really experienced. I've had a passenger ride in an F1, but a GT1 and a CLK GTR, there are a few handfuls of each of these in the world. These are incredibly rare, incredibly expensive. We're talking, well, for the CLK GTR, $3 or $4 million. For the GT1, that car, priceless. There's only one of them. Maybe $10 million or so, if you had to put a price on it. And the F1, well, 15, 20, who even knows? So we're looking at this unreal lineup of cars. And the owner has planned, with the organisers of the event, to do a photography parade lap with those four, joined by a very pink, Cadbury kind of pinky purple McLaren P1 that's attending, and the Apollo IE. So we're looking at this lineup of 6 cars that are going out for a parade in about 5 minutes' time from this point, when the owner says, "Would you like to drive one?" And I'm there like thinking, how do I, what's about to happen? What's going on here? Are you real? Is this serious? And then what can I drive? And at first he says, would you like to drive the MC12? And in my slightly awkward and very sheepish voice, because that's an amazing opportunity, I'm kind of like, I've already driven an MC12. Any chance I can drive a CLK GTR? And, I'm thinking there's no way he's going to say yes to that. No way at all. And then he says, yeah, sure, you can get in it. It's not the easiest car to get in. I'm just going to add that. If you try and climb through this tiny door over this gigantic wide sill, he said, if you can get in it, you can drive it. So there am I, working out how to kind of contortion my body to get actually into the seat of this car. Managed to make it. Fortunately, I'm just about small enough to squeeze in. And then the reality kind of sinks in that we're about to drive around an F1 circuit, and I'm going to be at the wheel of a CLK GTR. And this is probably the most excited I've ever been in my life, from dealing with getting to the event venue in the first place to what is actually going on at that moment in time. So we all line up, we're literally talking less than 10 minutes after the invitation has first come my way to be part of this. We're lined up in the pit lane to head on out, photography lead car at the front, of course, to get some photos. It's kind of the parade lap. We're not supposed to be driving very quickly, but in any case, I'm happy. It's a CLK GTR. Just going up between first and second gear is enough. The sequential gearbox, the whine of it, the noises, the emotion, that car was an icon for me. It was winning races when I was about 10. So it was the time I was starting to understand motorsport and follow what was going on. And I think the fact that it was a Mercedes based on a CLK, albeit a CLK that's longer, wider, much more aggressive, much more powerful, it was really an iconic car for me. But one that had always eluded me because they're simply just not there to actually drive or film any videos with. So we head on out. The first lap, I'm kind of lost on cloud 9, wondering what's going on, but just we're moving around, the cars are shuffling, doing some formation. You can imagine how you're doing it for a photo shoot. We do a lap. I think we did a second lap. And then at the end of the second lap, when we were kind of supposed to pull back into the pit lane, and the camera car did, because it was at the front, and I think one of the others might have done, well, the owner of who was driving the F1 kind of said, I'm going to go for another lap. So off he blasts down the start line, and of course everyone else who had just been veering towards the pit lane was like, if he's doing it, I'm doing it too. And off we all go. The F1 is gone. The MC12 is after it. The GT1 is in front of me. I'm in the CLK GTR. And it's not Mach 10, but it is foot down. It's decently up to kind of fifth gear kind of levels around the track. And here I am. We go through T1. We go up a little bit towards a very tight right hand. And then you have some snaking areas of the track. And I, at that moment, realised I'm currently actually putting my foot down, reaching the rev limiter in a CLK GTR, chasing a 911 GT1, feeling like I'm racing at Le Mans in the 90s, absolutely blasting, having the time of my life. And this is just by far and away, I think, the absolute highlight and the most exciting thing that I have ever done in a car, a memory that I am never, ever, ever going to forget. You would think getting back into the pit lane then at the end of all of this that we were probably going to be getting some stick from everybody at the track, but I think pretty much everybody in attendance, the guests, the organisers, the track officials, all kind of appreciated what had just happened. The fact that on the parade laps even, we had put our foot down a little bit down the start line, and you've got all of these cars driving, which you simply never see happening. When was the last time in this era that a GT1, a street legal GT1, and a CLK GTR actually got driven on a racetrack, let alone together in this way? I don't think that has happened in a long time, and I don't think it's going to happen potentially ever again. So everybody around was kind of happy that this was going on. So when we came back in, of course, you've got the red flags, so a little bit naughty. We should have been taking it a little bit more easily coming back to the pit lane. But everybody was just completely lost in the moment and enjoying what was going on. And this was all part, of course, of a much bigger evening as well. Lots of other cars around, a whole atmosphere about it too. And I think everybody just completely fascinated to see these cars and to see them being driven. The fact that they aren't stored in a garage and forgotten and never seen. The Collection 1 obviously has this amazing lineup of cars, but each and every one of them, I think 50 or 60 cars in the garage actually, are all kept running. They're all driven. They're all used like this and rotated and taken to different events. So I had gone from, at the start of the week, going to visit the garage, feeling a little bit, intimidated by what I'm surrounded by, to this week that I'd gone back to Dubai, to then thinking, wait a second, yeah, let's make this flight work, let's get there, let's do it, let's just go and see everybody and see some friends who are attending as well, to then the way the evening went in the end. And I think there were a few invitations as well to go and drive some other cars from different people. McLaren had some events on, so I drove around in a 600 LT as well and just enjoyed that whole atmosphere of it. But by the kind of end of the evening, I was almost destroyed in emotions, just, the whole excitement absolutely pouring out and not really able to control it really at the end of the day.